The Todd Shapiro Show.
Time to hit the button!
On Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
All right, moving forward here, we're on with our man. We talk to him weekly now. I always enjoy our catch-ups. At Namaste Darren, please welcome from Namaste Technologies, Darren Gill. Hey, bud.
Hey, bro. How's it going?
Oh, man, I can't relax. The Raptors, dude, I can't think of anything else. I'm not going to lie to you. My mind's so out of focus.
I don't think I've ever stressed out so much towards the end of a game where it was the emotional roller coaster. I became very much an invested Toronto fan, especially after the Expo last weekend.
I love it, dude. Yeah. I guess you sort of caught wind of everything that's going on and how supportive this is. And quite frankly, you being originally from Vancouver, you don't have a team.
We had the Grizzlies, but hopefully we'll get another one again soon.
I think for the good of this country, you do as well, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I forget, did we ever catch up? Did I ever ask you about the Expo?
No, but the Expo wound up being a great show. We had a great turnout. A lot of folks that, came in, learned a little bit more about CanMart and Namaste and what we do. It was a great chance to meet some folks. Got some very, very positive feedback from a few customers as well.
I'm happy to hear that. And what are the expos and stuff? Because they've been going on now for 3-4 years, sort of ever since the talk of legalization, and then obviously into legalization, and now you know how legalization is going to change come October 17th with edibles and stuff. Are they still really well received? The expo itself still getting a lot of people through the doors of these things?
The one this year was honestly amazing. It's been the largest one that I've been to, and I remember going to the first one, 3-4 years ago, where this was 25% of the footprint from where we're at today. And the amount of companies and the amount of innovation and stuff that continues to go on, especially with the legalization of edibles, extracts, concentrates coming up. There's more and more companies jumping into the space. You're starting to see a lot more kind of segmentation of the businesses where people are focusing in on what they're good at, and you're really seeing a nice development of these consumer-facing brands and people really trying to get their product out there and known. And unfortunately, with our marketing restrictions, this is one of the best ways to do it, where you can actually go shake hands and talk to people and educate them about what you do.
Do you think Canada will ever come down on their marketing restrictions with the way businesses can talk and promote product?
I think eventually you would need to. I think the way they rolled it out, they unfortunately gave us the worst of both worlds between alcohol and tobacco. Where at the end of the day, I think based on the research, and kind of everybody loves to quote it, but how many folks do you know that have ever died from smoking weed versus cigarettes and other things? They'll definitely need to help make it a little bit more mainstream, and I think that's part of the destigmatization you and I have talked about before as well.
And I mean, listen, we're doing, we do it with you guys, even with PSAs and education and stuff. And I think that's always important stuff where you're not marketing product, you just want people to understand what the product is, because there's still a lot of unanswered questions out there. But the more and more we go through this, I think it's like, come on, man, people can make up their own minds.
No, exactly, and we've got to make it a little bit more socially acceptable. There was actually a great article I was reading on Canada's first cannabis resort that's coming, and it's going to be launching in Ontario.
So interesting. So it's like an entire resort dedicated to cannabis users?
Yeah, no, there's a group called Cannabis Hotels. They've been working to promote cannabis tourism and be able to create a safe, more inclusive environment for folks that do consume the product. And their first one, I believe, is called the Sir Sam's Inn and Spa. And it's just about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. They're up on Eagle Lake. And, the more types of things that I think we can start doing, the more mainstream will make this.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting about ending stigmas in mainstream. We sort of forget, Vancouver being a very progressive city and Toronto obviously being a very progressive city. And then, really Canada in a way we'd like to think is a progressive country. But there's still a lot of very, very rural areas right here in this country that still don't really get a lot of this stuff. I mean, there's still a lot of people that have stigmas on sex in this day and age. And it makes sense when you start to see these kind of pop-up companies and companies trying to promote tourism and all this stuff. They're cannabis tourism in Canada would be an amazing exploration for people to tour LPs and see how it's grown and learn all about it, like you would a museum, and find out how certain things work and how it connects with cannabis. I can never say that word, by the way, which is why I wouldn't be good as being the tour guide, but I would be good at suggesting the idea of having a tour guide. I think that's a really cool thing.
No, it's actually funny. We talk about tourism, and one of our customer service folks on their break had gone downstairs to have a puff, and we're located just in Gastown here, where it's a heavy tourist traffic area. And she came back up and had pointed out that a bunch of the tourists were actually stopping to take photos, and person smoking weed outside on the street is now a tourist attraction, apparently.
No way. That's amazing. And like, what are some of the things, Darren, that people still say, Darren Gill from Namaste Technologies, that maybe like they might complain about within the space?
Actually, there's been a lot of noise coming out in the media now around the smell from these big production facilities. There's Hexco's been a company that's had some issues over in Montreal there. We've in BC have had a lot of issues. I drive down Highway 10 here coming into work every morning, and the skunky kind of smell is definitely an issue. So that's really become the biggest sore spot for folks living in and around is the odor coming out of these facilities.
Yeah, and is that something where, I'll be honest, like, and everyone knows I'm very pro-cannabis and not even the biggest cannabis user, in fact, but just pro-cannabis, and everyone should do their due diligence and find out why, they think they should be. I can say, quite frankly, I'm pro-CBD, whatever. But the one thing I maintain this, man, because I'm a very real person. I don't know how not to be genuine, is there are smells in my neighborhood at times when, people are near, like, these legal dispensaries now, and they're all smoking in front. You're rolling through with your kid on the stroller. Like, it is sort of like, there's still that old school mentality in me going, oh, that smell, and is that okay for the kid? And so I do think there are certain things. There should be certain accountability, I would say, on not only the end user but also the LP itself. Is that fair to say?
No, I totally agree. You got to understand what the way the product itself is grown. These are hot, humid facilities, and they need to get the ventilation out. And sometimes the only way they can do that is, open up the ventilation panels and, unfortunately, release some of the smell to the air. Now, we know that the smell itself or the odor isn't going to be harmful or cause any issues. But for folks that don't like the smell, and my wife is one of those people who prefers to vape because she doesn't like the smell at all, is it can cause you nausea and headaches and just give you an uneasy feeling. So I can totally relate to that.
Are there other complaints within the industry at all, or are things sort of like as a whole? We're approaching, I guess, a year and a few months here, like fairly smooth, actually.
I think it's gotten fairly smooth, actually. Even in that article around the resort that's looking at opening it up, one of the things that they addressed was the fact that, hey, the smell does bother some folks, so they're not making it the entire resort a cannabis location. You won't be smoking in suites and stuff. They're going to have designated areas outside. And an interesting thing they actually pointed out was the fact that with the new legalization happening in October, things like edibles, concentrates, extracts, you're actually not going to deal with a lot of the odor, and we're seeing more and more of the market shift that way. So I think over time, as the cannabis connoisseur evolves, so to speak, you'll see less and less of having to deal with the odor.
What about on the stock market side of things, and with a lot of volatility and stuff? What would you suggest to people when they're exploring that space? And of course, Namaste Technologies. Let's be honest, being a publicly traded company, N is their ticker symbol, and as management, I don't know how you can talk about it, but what do you say about people in the space in general over there?
I think, everybody in the space this is a growth industry. There's a lot of excitement and, a lot of folks that are trying to jump in. But, I think a big part of it is do your due diligence, know what you're investing in. Fundamentally, if you believe in the vision and the company and the folks leading it, that's going to be, the place that I would put my money. Is there a group of folks there that you can really get behind in a vision you can understand? And are they unique? I think you see a lot of the same business models being kind of cut and repeat, and that's going to lead to an oversaturated market. So, my personal philosophy is look at things that are outside of the box.
And do you personally take calls from shareholders or emails, or is there someone on your team in investor relations? How does that work, Darren?
We have an investor relations group, and look, I have personal relationships with a small group of folks as well. But being a company that's trying to push towards good governance and have that, we have a standard process of we direct folks to investor relations, and there's got to be kind of one message. Especially being a public company, you don't want to ever create the perception that you're providing selective information to some folks and not to others. So generally, I've had investors reach out to myself through social media and other platforms. We guide them back to the same channel, or just, reserve the right not to comment on when asked specific questions.
Yeah, you don't want to obviously make it look like you're giving someone an unfair advantage to another potential shareholder or a current one. And you could just tell them, to tune into the show weekly, and maybe they'll hear some company news here.
Absolutely.
I love it, my man. Well, listen, I really enjoy these chats and catching up with you, Darren. Are you in Vancouver today? I don't even know where you're at.
I am in Vancouver. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day outside, so we're in good spirits today.
Dude, did Toronto and Vancouver make a swap of weather this year? I heard that's what's going on.
Possibly, but I'm not complaining. We'll keep our sunshine. You guys rain.
Thanks, my man. Well, listen, Namaste Technologies and $N. If you want that's sort of how people determine what stock symbols are in the social media space to read up on them, or contact their investor relations team. We do appreciate all your help, Darren, and all your education. And have fun next week with the entire team at Namaste Technologies. Whatever's going on, we'll catch up with you later in the week.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Todd.
Go Raptors, go.
Go Raptors, go.
Okay, see you, man.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.